Hello, everyone. My name is AY, and welcome to the Once Upon a Time channel, a channel where I narrate my own stories to uh, anyone who is willing to listen. So, this is like the sixth, seventh take of me trying to narrate this story. And, this is how I sound normally, right? This is how I speak generally. And every time I try to narrate this story, all of a sudden I can't speak English again and my accent gets very thick and it drives me crazy because I feel like I pronounce certain words and you won't be able to understand them. But let's just get right into it. So without further ado, uh I'm going to be starting with a story titled The Journey of the Damned, which will be divided into parts. This is actually the very first episode. So if you're listening, hi, thank you for uh sticking wait, how do those YouTubers say? Anyway, I'm just gonna start. So Beatrix lived in a small village just outside the kingdom of Koshan, a quiet place where people worked hard, kept to themselves, and didn't ask too many questions. She lived with her mother in a crooked house made of wood and stone. Her father had died when she was little. He hadn't left them much, only his good name, and for a while, that name helped. People were kind. They offered a little more, asked for a little less. But after a few years, the kindness faded. Now people spoke to them like they were nothing but beggars. Vaitrik's father had been a gatherer in the Order of Builders, the lowest job in one of the hardest orders. He carried bricks, logs, stones, whatever was needed to build the kingdom's walls, roads, and homes. His hands were always rough, his back always sore. And when he died, our mother, Senna, stayed in the Order of Builders, but it was hard. The work wore her down every day. So she decided she would switch orders to the Order of Feeders, the group that served food and drink. But that wasn't easy either. To switch, they had to pay the kingdom's grocery local office at the outskirts of the village. It was a large building with grey walls, stone counters, and rows of dusty ledgers. And to even be allowed to serve food, you had to prove you had enough money to open a place. Viatrix didn't just help with this dream, she carried it. She worked for the clothes sellers, the fruit stall, even cleaned houses for rich families who barely looked at her. She worked through cold mornings and tired nights, and every single coin she earned, she saved. Her mother did the same. For 5 years, they saved. Then finally, it happened. They stood in front of the official at the grocery local office. The woman behind the counter looked down at their papers, took their coin, and said, Approved. Beatrix and her mother opened a small place called Senna's Hut on the edge of their village. It wasn't much, just a room with a stone oven, 3 tables, and a wooden sign out front, but it was theirs. That evening, Beatrix helped mop the floor, set the benches, and scrub the windows until her arms ached. She had never felt so proud. That night, she lay in bed beside her mother. They were tired but smiling. We did it, her mother whispered. We did, Beatrix said. They held each other, safe and happy, but only for a moment. Then Beatrix went still. Senna knew what that meant. Her daughter's breathing slowed. Her eyes stared ahead like they were looking at something no one else could see. A vision. Beatrix saw the sky tear open like paper. A huge creature fell through, landing in the heart of Koshan. Fire spread everywhere. Buildings crumbled. The castle burned. People screamed. Everything turned to ash. When she woke, she was shaken. What did you see? Her mother asked softly. Beatrix answered, The kingdom. It's going to fall. Something is coming from the sky. Senna's face went pale. They both knew what that meant. Beatrix was a seer, and in Koshan, being a seer was against the law. Magic of any kind was forbidden. If the king found out, he would kill her. No trial, no second chances. Beatrix sat up slowly. I have to tell someone, anyone, maybe even the king. He needs to know. The king? Amanda blinked. He'll have you executed before you finish your first sentence. Well, if I say nothing, we all die. If I speak, I die. Either way, I'm damned. But then she remembered something. A chant. Every year, Cochin held the Festival of Peace. On that day, the king walked through the capital, pardoning crimes, blessing people, and giving gold to the poor. On that day, the whole kingdom was full of joy. It was the only time of year when the young king stepped out of his palace. If Vitrix could get there before the festival and tell him during his good mood, maybe he would listen. Maybe he wouldn't kill her. It was a small hope, but the only one she had. She told her mother her plan. She expected shouting, fear, maybe even begging, but Senna just looked at her daughter and said, "Go." "You're not going to stop me?" Vitrix asked. "I couldn't even if I tried. I raised you to do what is right." They packed a bag that night: bread, dried fruit, a flax, her father's old locket. She would take a boat from the nearby river down to Envara, a small town near the capital. Every year, a band of performers and workers travel from Envara to Koshan for the Festival of Peace. If she could join their caravan, she might reach the king in time. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Vaishik stood on the river dock. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Don't let them silence you," Vaishik nodded. She held back tears. She climbed onto the boat and sat near the back, staring at the wide, grey water ahead. She didn't know what waited for her in Caution. She didn't even know if she'd live long enough to be heard. But she knew one name now. She had seen it in the vision: Zemayo. As she stepped off the boat in Envara and looked around at the band of travelers preparing their wagons, she saw a young man leaning against a brick wall, watching her with quiet eyes. He smiled. "You're traveling alone?" he asked. Vistrix hesitated. "Yes." "Then walk with me." He held out his hand. "I don't know you," she replied. "I can fix that. My name is Zemayo, and it is a pleasure to meet you." The evening breeze called around the performer's caravan like a whisper, stirring the warm scent of fire-roasted roots and dried fruits. Vitrix and Zamael approached the gathering cautiously, their cloaks marked with dust from the road. A performer with golden bangles and dark-painted eyes raised an arm in welcome. "More wanderers seeking the capital?" she asked. Zamael nodded once. "We'd like to travel with you, only as far as the city." The woman shrugged. "The road is long and unsafe." Vitrix stepped forward. "We'll help. We can carry our own weights." "Then welcome," the woman said with a smile. "I am Serila, and you are?" "Vitrix." "Zmael." They both introduced themselves. That night, the caravan moved forward under the dim violet sky. Dotted lanterns swung gently from poles. Musicians strummed slow songs and told tales of lands they'd never seen. "I had a story once," said Lomi, the youngest of the performers. She sat cross-legged, playing with the corner of her blanket. "From my grandmother, about the guardians. They used to walk among us, help us, but then something happened. They changed. They started killing people, just like that, no warning." Vitrix glanced at Zamayo, whose jaw tightened. He stared into the flames, saying nothing. Lumi continued. "My grandmother said it was because they were cursed or corrupted. Their eyes turned black, and that's not true." Zmael interrupted sharply. Everyone fell silent. His tone was colder than the wind. Then, as if catching himself, he leaned back, softened his voice, and added, "You shouldn't believe every tale passed down in fear." "You sound like you know them," Lumi challenged. "I know enough," he replied, not meeting her eyes. To his attention, another performer chimed in. "Well, what about our king, huh? He never shows his face. Some say he's a goblin, or disfigured, or maybe he's too beautiful for us mortals to see." Vitrix laughed lightly, grateful for the change of subject. "He only comes out once a year, during the Festival of Peace." The performer smirked. And when he does, everyone faints from his beauty. Maybe he uses magic. Beatrix's smile faltered. Magic was forbidden in the kingdom. She knew that better than anyone. She had been hiding ours since she was a child. Well, you're not allowed to have magic in caution, she said, forcing a laugh. Zemael, still staring at her from across the fire, tilted his head slightly and laughed. Aren't you the perfect, law-abiding citizen? Her voice was seasoned, but his eyes, they searched her. He was quiet, even for a traveler, too graceful, too sure. Yet, when he smiled, it was sincere. He had saved her once already from slipping down the edge of a cliffside when loose rocks betrayed her footing. His arm as shot out like a reflex, steadying and unshaken, pulling her back with a strength that surprised even her. Later that week, while passing through a small trading town, Beatrix watched Zemael from a distance as he browsed a market store. He stepped near a large decorative mirror, leaning against a wall, and for a moment, her breath itched. He cast no reflection. Her heart pounded. What is he, a ghost? He's clearly not human. It seems she's not the only one with a secret. The journey to the capital had been long, and the band of travelers, 6 in total, were weary. Beatrix kept to herself as usual, her sharp eyes scanning the others, always watching, always suspicious. Among them, Zemael stood out, though he tried not to. He was too composed, too aware for someone who claimed to be just another wanderer. When the bandits struck, it was sudden, a rustle in the trees and the glint of steel in the fading light. The thugs demanded food, coin, anything of value. The travelers tensed, hands drifting towards weapon, but before anyone could act, Zemael stepped forward, his voice calm. There is no need for violence. We can talk. Beatrix frowned. Why was he so confident? The bandits laughed, but Zemael didn't react. Instead, he turned slightly, as if considering something, then sighed. Fine, if you insist. Then he moved, not towards the bandits, but away, into the forest. The thugs, confused and enraged, followed, shouting threats. The other travelers hesitated, but Beatrix didn't. She slipped after them, silent as a shadow. What she saw next froze her blood. Zemael stood in a small clearing, the bandits circling him. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't even tense. Instead, he flicked his wrist, a dismissive, almost bored gesture, and the nearest bandits flew backward, crashing in through a tree. Beatrix's breath caught. Then Zemael's eyes glowed, a deep, unnatural red, like embers in the dark, just like the creature from my vision. Her stomach twisted. No, that's not possible. She had seen the future, a monstrous being, a force of destruction, something that wasn't supposed to be here yet. But Zamaria wasn't a monster. He was a man who had traveled with them for days, who had shared meals and stories. Unless this wasn't his true form. One of the bandits launched. Zamael sidestepped, his movements too fluid, too precise. Another flick of his hand, and the man crumbled, unconscious. The last bandit turned to flee, but Zamael's voice cut through the night. Tell your friends to find better prey. The bandit scrambled away. Zamael went still, his eyes turning to gold and then grey. Are you going to keep hiding, Sia? Beatrix's pulse spiked. He knew. She stepped out, arm crossed, chin high. Destroyer, she said. Then he laughed, a deep, rich sound that carried no real amusement. Oh, that's good. He turned to face her freely, his eyes now their usual grey hue, as if the gold and red had never been there. You really don't know half of what's going on, do you, darling? Beatrix bristled. I know what I saw. No, you don't. You don't even understand your own powers, do you? Our silence was enough answer. Zemael smirked. Thought so. He stepped closer, and Beatrix forced herself not to retreat. Enlighten me then, she snapped. Is this even how you look like? What, he isn't good enough for you? But Zumayo pointed to his arm as if he wasn't talking to himself. Beatrice gritted her teeth. You're not walking away from this. Not here, not now. He glanced towards the camp. The others are coming. Sure enough, voices called through the trees, the rest of their groups, searching for them. Beatrix was angry, but she knew he was right. She really didn't understand her vision. How could she? There was no one to teach her. If Zamaya was really the monster she saw, why hasn't he destroyed the kingdom? And is there even a point in meeting the king? She will talk to him again. She must talk to him again. Well, if you're still here, it means you listened to the first part completely. And for that, I say a very big thank you. This stressed me out so bad, you don't even understand. But well, if you'd like to download the copy, the Word document for this story I just read, it's in my bio. You can download it. And if you want to know more about me, then you can also check the uh, link in the bio. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope I see you next time. Bye.